Welcome to the Devonport Naval Heritage Centre YouTube channel. Between September 1939 and August 1935, the world was at war, with the world's oceans and seas being an unforgiving battlefield. In almost 6 years of conflict, 250 ships, manned by sailors from Devonport, were lost to enemy action. In this video, we will list alphabetically vessels both civilian and military, with a spotlight on some of the more well-known vessels. HMS Aribdal. She was the lead ship of a class of 6 fast mine layers. Although designed as a mine layer capable of 40 knots, their speed and large mine storage capacity made them suitable for employment as fast transports. On September 10, 1943, HMS Aribdal was transporting troops to Taranto harbour when she struck a mine, sinking within 3 minutes with a great loss of life among both sailors and soldiers. HMS Glorious was an aircraft carrier converted from a First World War light battlecruiser. At the start of 1940, she was recalled from the Mediterranean to serve with the Home Fleet, covering the British forces landing in Norway. On the 7th of June, RAF Gladiators and Hurricane fighters landed on the carrier without the aid of a rescue gear to evacuate them back to the UK. Short of fuel, she was returning to the UK when on the 8th of June, the German fast battleships Scharnhorst and Gneisenau sighted her along with her 2 escorting destroyers, HMS Acasta and HMS Ardent. In a one-sided battle, HMS Ardent was hit and sunk. Using the cover of smoke, HMS Acasta fired a salvo of torpedoes, one of which hit and badly damaged the Scharnhorst. Despite the best efforts of the destroyer escorts to screen the carrier, HMS Glorious was hit in the engine room and slowed, and sunk by the 2 German ships. HMS Basilisk. A B-class destroyer was sunk by air attack during the Operation Dynamo, which was the evacuation of troops from Dunkirk. HMS Blackwood, a captain-class frigate, was hit by a homing torpedo fired by U-764. HMS Audacity was the first of the Royal Naval escort carriers, converted from the captured German merchantman Hanover. Attached to a U-boat hunting group commanded by Frederick Johnny Walker on December 14, 1941, they formed the escort of convoy HG-76 from Gibraltar to Liverpool. Her Martlet fighters shot down 2 Condor aircraft and were used to spot U-boats on the surface away from the convoy. On the night of the 21st of December, one of the merchantmen fired a flare which silhouetted the aircraft carrier, and she was hit by a torpedo from U-751. HMS Barham. A Queen Elizabeth-class battleship commissioned in October 1915, participated in the Battle of Jutland in 1916, and in December 1939 she was hit by a torpedo from U-30, which put her into repair for 4 months. Along with her sister ships Valiant and Warspite, she participated in the Battle of Cape Matapan. On the 24th of November, with sister ships Queen Elizabeth and Valiant, she departed Alexandria, and following day, U-311 fired 4 torpedoes that hit her port side very close to each other. Barham capsized quickly and was on her side when the 4-inch magazines exploded. This caused the main magazines to explode, killing more than 2/3 of her crew. The sinking of HMS Barham was caught on film by a Pathé News cameraman. SS Britannia was an ocean liner and was sunk by the German merchant raider 4. Britannia's 3rd officer, William McVicker, commanded lifeboat number 7 with 82 survivors. Sailing west to make most of the prevailing currents and winds, after 23 days, the 38 remaining survivors landed in Brazil. A book has been written about this remarkable feat of navigation and survival. HMS Calcutta, a C-class cruiser launched in 1918 and converted to an anti-aircraft cruiser in 1939. She served during the Norwegian campaign and in the evacuation of troops from Dunkirk. She was sunk by a German bomber off Alexandria. The ship's bell of HMS Calcutta can be located in the model ship gallery of the Heritage Centre. HMS Brazen, a Royal Navy B-class destroyer, sunk by Stukas in the English Channel while escorting coastal convoys in July 1940. HMS Calypso was a D-class cruiser, sunk on the 12th of June 1940 in the Mediterranean by Italian submarines, being the first Royal Navy ship sunk by the Italian Navy in the Second World War. HMS Bonaventure, a Dido-class cruiser. When HMS Exeter returned from the Battle of the River Plate, she needed an extensive refit, and many of her crew were posted to HMS Bonaventure. Escorting convoy GA-8 in the Mediterranean, she was hit by 2 torpedoes fired from the Italian submarine Ambria. Within minutes, severe flooding caused the ship to capsize and sink within 6 minutes. She was the largest ship sunk by Italian submarines during the whole of the Second World War. HMS Courageous was originally built as one of 3 light battlecruisers during the First World War. In the 1920s, all 3 ships were converted into fleet carriers. In the early part of the Second World War, aircraft carrier operations were new, and HMS Courageous was being used to hunt U-boats in the western approaches. On the 17th of September 1939, she was torpedoed and sunk by U-29. HMS Courageous was the first major warship sunk by Axis forces in the Second World War. HMS Edinburgh was one of the last of the 2 Town-class light cruisers, slightly larger than the preceding Towns to accommodate extra anti-aircraft guns. In the Second World War, HMS Edinburgh served mainly in the North Atlantic and the Arctic Oceans. In 1942, she was part of a force covering convoy PQ-14 to Murmansk. On April 28, she left the Russian port to escort convoy OP-11 back to the UK. In her hold was gold bullion to pay for the war materials sent to Russia. A torpedo from U-456 hit her on the starboard side, but the damage control team stopped the flooding. Then a second torpedo from U-456 hit her. 2 days later, 3 German destroyers sent to attack the convoy hit the Edinburgh with another torpedo. The ship was too badly damaged to continue and was scuttled. HMS Eagle. The 14th ship to bear the name Eagle was an aircraft carrier converted from a Chilean super dreadnought that served in the Royal Navy as HMS Canada in the First World War. At the start of the Second World War, HMS Eagle was in the Indian Ocean. In May 1940, she arrived in the Mediterranean theatre. Then during 1942, she was involved in several operations to supply Spitfire fighters to Malta. While covering the critical resupply convoy to Malta in 1942, Operation Pedestal, HMS Eagle was hit by 4 torpedoes fired from U-73 and sank in less than 4 minutes with a loss of 131 of her crew. HMS Exeter was a Devonport-built heavy cruiser armed with 6 8-inch guns. HMS Exeter came to public attention when she was involved in the Battle of the River Plate. Badly damaged by 11-inch shells from the German cruiser Graf Spee, returned to Devonport in February 1940. She was repaired and refitted, which took over a year. Leaving Devonport, she was sent to the Indian Ocean to escort convoys. In December 1941, she was ordered to Singapore to reinforce Force Z, but didn't arrive until the afternoon of December the 10th. On the 1st of March 1942, during the Second Battle of the Java Sea, HMS Exeter, accompanied by the destroyers HMS Encounter and USS Pope, were intercepted by a strong Japanese naval force, and in the ensuing battle, HMS Exeter was sunk. HMS Galatea, an Arethusa-class light cruiser. In 1941, she was involved in the search for the German battleship Bismarck, after which she joined the Mediterranean Fleet, operating against Axis convoys supplying troops to North Africa. On the 11th of December, U-557 torpedoed Galatea with a loss of 470 crew. 2 days later, U-577 was sunk with all hands. HMS Gladioli was the first Flower-class corvette and spent most of her career escorting convoys across the Atlantic. While escorting convoy SC-48, she was dispatched to search for survivors, and contact was lost. She was presumed sunk by a torpedo from a U-boat. HMS Kite was a Black Swan class sloop. In August 1944, HMS Kite was part of the escort group for convoy JW-59 to Russia. On the 21st of August, she was hit by a torpedo fired from U-344. Only 9 of her crew survived. HMS Gloucester was a Town-class light cruiser built in Devonport Dockyard. She had a short but active career, winning 5 battle honours in 2 years. From mid-1940, she escorted convoys to Malta. In May 1941, Gloucester was in action near Crete to intercept German vessels sending material and troops to the island. Unaware of the low levels of anti-aircraft ammunition, the Gloucester, along with HMS Fiji, was dispatched to provide anti-aircraft support for 2 destroyers sent to rescue survivors from HMS Greyhound. Attacked by swarms of Stuka dive bombers, the ammunition was soon expended, and the Gloucester was hit by several bombs and sunk with only 85 survivors out of a crew of 807. HMS Fuji didn't escape and was sunk by bombers a couple of hours later. The Devonport Naval Heritage Centre has a display of artefacts from HMS Gloucester in the Devonport Gallery. HMS Mohawk was a tribal class destroyer. She took part in the Norwegian campaign, after which she was sent to the Mediterranean. In April 1941, assigned to the 14th Destroyer Flotilla, an attack was made on an Italian convoy. During the engagement, the Italian destroyer Luca Tarago was hit and was sinking, but her crew managed to fire 2 torpedoes, one of which hit HMS Mohawk, and she capsized in less than a minute, with a loss of 41 of her crew. HMS Naiad was a Dido-class light cruiser. In May 1941, Naiad joined Force H in the Mediterranean, escorting convoys to Malta. In March 1942, south of Crete, Naiad was sunk by U-565 with a loss of 77 of her company. HMS Penelope was an Arethusa-class light cruiser. During the Norwegian campaign, she ran aground entering Vesterfjord. In October 1941, she joined Force K in the Mediterranean, based in the besieged island of Malta. In early 1942, when in dry dock in Malta, she was attacked by German aircraft and riddled with so much shrapnel that she was given the nickname HMS Pepperpot. In February 1944, as she was leaving Naples to return to the Anzio area, she was hit by 2 torpedoes fired by a U-410 and sank with a loss of 417 of her crew. HMS Saracen was an S-class submarine. 5 days into her first war patrol, she sank U-335 near the Faroe Islands. In October 1942, Saracen was assigned to the 10th Submarine Flotilla based in Malta. In August 1943, off the Corsican coast, she was attacked by 2 Italian corvettes. After multiple depth charge attacks, Saracen was forced to the surface. The crew then abandoned and scuttled the submarine. 46 of her crew were rescued and only 2 were lost. HMS Seek, a tribal-class destroyer, was one of the destroyers that in 1941 harassed the German battleship Bismarck the night before she was sunk. In December 1941, Seek was transferred to Force H in the Mediterranean. In September 1943, both Seek and Zulu were involved in the commando raid on Trebuk and was hit repeatedly by coastal artillery, losing 115 of her crew before she was scuttled. HMS Trinidad was a light cruiser built in Devonport Dockyard and served with the Home Fleet. In March 1942, while escorting convoy PQ-13, she helped fight off German destroyers. During this action, she launched a torpedo attack. One of her torpedoes malfunctioned and hit HMS Trinidad. Patched up in Murmansk, she sailed for the UK on the 13th of May 1942. The following day, she was attacked and hit by German bombers and had to be scuttled. Although plans had been made during the 1930s to counter the Japanese Navy in the Pacific and Indochina region, the advent of war in Europe and the ship losses resulted in a much reduced force being sent to Singapore, consisting of just 2 capital ships, HMS Repulse and HMS Prince of Wales, leaving Singapore to attack landings on the Malay Peninsula. Late morning of the 10th of December saw the first aerial attack without much damage occurring. Successive waves of aircrafts with both bombs and torpedoes overwhelmed the ships and they were sunk. HMS Woodpecker was a Black Swan class sloop. In April 1943, she joined Frederick Johnny Walker's 2nd Support Group escorting convoys during the Battle of the Atlantic, during which time she was credited with the destruction of 6 U-boats. On the 20th of February 1944, U-256 fired an acoustic homing torpedo that struck her stern. 7 days later, while being towed back to the UK, she foundered in a storm, with the crew on board being rescued. She was the only ship from the 2nd Support Group to have been sunk. For more information on the Devonport Naval Heritage Centre, our opening times, and the special events that we attend throughout the year, please visit our website and our Facebook page, and we look forward to welcoming you to the museum in the near future.